Today is June the 20th, 2019. My name is Tanya Fincham. Along with me is Alex Bishop. We're with Oklahoma State University, and we are in Broken Arrow.
All right.
To interview Ben and Susie Jackson, or do you want to go by your first name? Susie? Or
Susie's fine.
Susie. And this is part of our Married for Life project, so thank you for letting us come today. Susie, let's begin with you. When and where were you born?
I was born in Texas, Crest, Texas, in, I've forgotten when I was born.
1920 what?
24. No, that's Ben. 26, 1926.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your parents.
My parents? Well, my father, when he worked in Texas, he worked for the railroad company. And then when they moved to Oklahoma, he was a farmer then. We lived on the farm.
And did you have brothers and sisters?
Well, I know. I have a brother older than I that was born dead. And then I was born, and then I had a sister born, but she had water on her brain. So she didn't live but 2 years.
So you were it.
So I was it, yes.
Okay. And your turn. When and where were you born?
I was born in Tipton, Oklahoma, which is down there near Lawton, and then that area is the Wichita Falls area, but in the state of Oklahoma. And I was born in 24.
Okay. And tell me about your folks.
My folks were from that same area, around Tipton and Frederick and all that area. And when was I born is 1924.
Okay.
I'm the oldest of 8.
Oldest of 8.
Wow.
How many brothers and sisters?
I've got 3 sisters and 4 sisters, and well, let's see, is it 4 or 5? 5. I believe we got 5 sisters and 2 brothers. So
Okay.
I'm the oldest.
So were you the boss?
Oh, no, I don't think so, but the 2 brothers are deceased, and 2 sisters are deceased. So the family is dying out.
And what did your father do for a living?
Farmer.
And your mom raised the children?
Just raised children. She had a handful.
And did you have chores?
To have what?
Chores on the farm?
Work.
When you were little?
Oh, chores. I
Yeah.
picked up the word source.
That's my Tennessee accent kicking in there.
All right, y'all. Yes, my father milked cows, and he would tell me time to get out there and milk, or when it was time to build a fire in the fireplace in the cold mornings, he would say to me, "Beaner, get up, make a fire." I'd pretend that I did not hear him, because I didn't want to get out of that warm bed and go in there, because we had nothing but a cold stove. But I had plenty of chores. We had, as soon as I was able to get old enough to help him, he put me to work. And one of the when he was dying of cancer, he said, "Well, I don't worry about you. I taught you to work." And he did.
And he did.
So I have had to work all my life. But that's not bad.
That's not bad.
It's a good thing. Because you learn to take hardships.
And appreciate things.
Oh, much more.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get in here in a warm house in the winter. But also I spent 2 years in the military. and I was in the infantry. Are you doing that?
No, you're doing it.
I was too far back.
Oh,
I was in the military, and they put me I wanted in the Air Force, and they said, you're going to the infantry. We need bodies over there in Europe. They're killing them off so fast. So this was in World War II. And next thing I knew, after some basic training and so forth, and shipping across the ocean in a boat, I ended up on the front lines in the infantry during the Battle of the Bulge. That's just before everything, well, that's when things really got bad over there, and people were dying right and left, and we weren't sure whether the Americans could hold the ground or not. But anyway, I had to go out there and dig a foxholes in that frozen ground and sleep in them with snow on top, and nothing but we didn't even have an overcoat because the Germans were wearing overcoats, and they might be shooting at us by mistake, thinking we were a German. So I went through that Battle of the Bulge in that fox tent. Matter of fact, I even took my family back there after the war. I wanted them to see where I had been. And so I went, I bought a new Volkswagen there in Frankfurt, and we drove, and I could speak enough German that we could travel by or independently. And we went back to some of these same old places that I had been in foxhole.
Wow.
It's changed, of course. The cows were grazing contentedly on that pasture where I was dug in. But I thought, if I ever get a chance to sleep all night in a warm bed and not wake up and say, hey Ben, you're on guard duty or something, I think that'll be heaven. Well, anyway, it was a tough life, but the fact that I had come from a farm, I had to work, I don't think it bothered me as much as it did some of the other fellows. These fellows that they had washed out of the Air Force and put in my unit, oh, they were unhappy. And they'd go around singing the Air Force song in the infantry. I can remember this one second lieutenant. Oh, he didn't like that idea of singing the Air Force song in an infantry outfit. And one of these kids in the group, my group, said, didn't know that the second lieutenant was around, and said, if you guys don't stop singing that Air Force song, there's a second lieutenant that's going to blow his top. And he happened to be standing right there. So he taps this guy on the shoulder. What lieutenant did you refer to? The poor old guy, he didn't know he was around. He saluted, said, nobody in particular, sir. As a matter of fact, I'd had a chance to talk to him on the phone after the whole thing was over. I said, I can remember you saying, nobody in particular, sir. But anyway, it was a tough life. But therefore, during that Battle of the Bulge, I went through 3 major battles over there. I got a ribbon up there with 3 stars on it. That means each one is a battle, major battle, plus some other medals and so forth. But I very fortunately ended up without any wounds. Although I had a bullet one time, I'll never forget it. There were 3 of us together moving up a hill, and the Germans were shooting at us from up on top of the hill, and we were down below. And these three men, one of them come to me that morning and said, "Sergeant, I'll never see my wife again and my child." I said, "Oh, you're all right. Just go ahead and go like you, everything's all right." Well, on that, we had to march up that hill with these Germans shooting at us, and I could see the guy on my right, about the same distance here, just slump. Didn't make a sound. The guy on my left, same thing, just slumped down. And a bullet meant for me went right there. Ooh, it's a wicked sound.
He had a praying wife, praying mother. He wasn't married then, but his mother was a strong.
Well, I had a girl wanting me to marry her before I went overseas, and I said no.
You hadn't met him before?
No.
And I said, I may not come back. So, no, I don't want to leave a widow. So I wasn't married all the time in the service.
Well, did you know each other at that time?
No.
Hadn't met.
It was later after he got out of service. He knew my cousin, and my cousin and I were real close. We weren't in the same grade, but we were real friends. And he introduced me to Ben, and I guess I don't remember much about what happened, but we weren't, were you in the service then?
No.
I thought you were out.
So you had.
I was both in. She'd been in college in California, and I had decided that I'd better get a college education. I did not want to be back on the farm doing those things. And so Cameron College in Lawton was the nearest university, and the GI Bill would pay for my tuition and books and things. And they gave me $100 a month. And she decided to go, she came back from California and started at Lawton also there at Cameron. So that's when we started going together.
Do you remember your first date?
I don't remember.
No, I don't either.
What was your first impression of him?
Well, I thought he was nice. I was a person that I was not getting married. I was getting my education. I had already lived on the farm, and I knew what it was. It was work. So it was nice to meet Ben, and I thought he was fine, but I was not romantically interested in, developing, because I was not interested in getting married.
But
Yes.
He talked you into it, huh?
It's real hard to remember. When we went to Cameron, I had already gone a year there, right? I haven't even thought about this stuff.
No, I don't think, well, maybe you had.
I had been there a year. And I guess we knew each other. I don't remember any dates. It's just real hard for me to remember.
Go to the movies or to the soda fountain for a pop, or
Yeah, I just don't remember much.
so how long did you date before he asked you to marry him?
I admired him, I guess that's what you would say, because he was going to get an education. I mean, I had a high standard. I never did let a boy put his arms around me. I didn't want to get involved because I had enough experience through life to know what men were like, and I didn't want a part of it. So this is real hard for me to remember. What can you remember?
Oh, I just remember that we had some mutual friends, or at least she met some of my friends who were married. They'd been classmates of mine at Carnegie High School and chummed together, both the woman and the man. And so she met those, and then we would go on what we call double dates. I remember going out to Lake Latonka in Lawton with them in and we had a speedboat of some sort out there. We rented it or something. And she was on that deal. And she enjoyed the company of these friends of mine. And they became pretty fast friends, I'd say. You and Earl and Doris.
Yeah, I appreciated them.
And
They were going to Cameron at the same time.
at the same time.
Well, my aunts, undoubtedly, I introduced him to I have two aunts and my mother, and they all thought Ben was wonderful.
Well, Susie said I didn't want to marry a man that wasn't going to get an education.
Yeah, I was not. I had been engaged to a fellow who, in a northern state,
Iowa.
and he was saying they would raise corn and kids. And boy,
He was Catholic and she was not.
that
Catholic
just,
did not believe in birth control.
Well, how did you pop the question to her?
I don't remember.
I don't know either.
Well, did you get married in a church or the Justice of the Peace?
We got
or what?
married in my aunt's house
In Mountain View.
in Mountain View. It was real nice.
And what did you wear?
I wore a light blue dress. I have a picture of my going away suit. Would you like to see that?
When we're finished, we will.
Okay.
And what did Ben wear?
I don't remember. I don't think I owned a suit and probably couldn't afford a suit. I don't know. And men don't pay much attention to these things as women do.
That's true. Did you ask permission to marry her?
Yes, I went to her folks at their house and told them that we'd considered marriage, wanted to know their approval. And I can still remember her mother saying, well, she's the only child I have, but...
I don't remember that at all. I don't remember any of this.
You got married in December
Yeah, we got married then, the 22nd,
of 1946?
40,
46? No.
yeah, let's see, 46.
The war was over in 44, I believe. I don't know, maybe that's when I went into the service. And I think I got out in 46.
And you graduated from high school in 44? Does that sound right?
Yeah, it could be.
She went to California with her mother and stepfather.
So you mean you didn't get married right out of high school?
No.
No. So 46 May, does that sound right for
Yeah,
wedding day?
sounds to me.
The 46 is definitely when we got married.
Okay.
But I don't, probably 44 is when I graduated. I think I was 18.
I
Okay.
see, I was 40, I graduated from Carnegie in 42. We're 2 years difference in age.
And then you were in the military for
2
2
years.
And then Cameron.
And then Cameron, that's where I started school. I wasn't sure I could make it. I wasn't a real good student in high school. But I turned out to make straight A's.
Ben has a good mind. He's very modest, but he has a very good mind.
And you ended up at Oklahoma A&M at some point, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, it was Oklahoma A&M.
We
Yeah.
stayed in, we lived in a little what do they call those huts? 16 by 16, 16
Yeah.
feet by 6. It was prefabs that OSU had bought from the Army, or had given from the Army. And they hooked them up for a living. They had no insulation in the walls. The ice would form on the inside of the house.
And it would freeze, and that would stop the wind coming in.
So you were cold again.
Yeah, well, that was.
I tell
At
you,
least we had some covers, we had some blankets. I didn't have that over there. It was in that foxhole. It was tough.
So did you have a honeymoon?
We went to Wichita Falls or
yeah,
somewhere.
we had a honeymoon. Yeah,
Did you pick December for any particular reason to get married?
probably fit in with our
School
school.
was out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you graduated.
Then I guess we graduated at Cameron. I don't remember any exercise.
Well, yes, we did graduate.
That was 2 years of college there at Cameron.
Got an
It
associate.
was
then-
just a 2-year college at that time.
Okay.
And then up to LSU or Oklahoma A&M, and applied for a veterans house. One of those little 16 by 16s. And I finished up there in about a year and a half or less. I had to have 2 years of college, but I took extra courses so that I was able to get through in less than 2 years up there. So I had my bachelor's degree, and then that's when they approached me, the professor that I had a class in genetics under. And he approached me and said, Ben, I've got a job opening here for you, and I'm recommending you to be on the staff of OSU, or Oklahoma A&M. I'd like for you to go out there and meet the man that you would work under. And there's a guy out there at the Small Grains Research, Dr. Schlehuber, big German name, huh? And so he hired me on the spot. And told me, said, look, if you do perform like we want you to and expect you to, and we'll let you go back to school for your master's degree. And then you take time off from your work out here to go to class. And you'll grow your thesis, your wheat or whatever it was. You're out here on the station, no expense or anything, and you'll give you time to conduct your thesis research for your master's, and we'll give you time off to go to class and attend the classes here for your master's. And so I did.
Too good of a deal not to, huh?
Yeah, and they were paying me as much as if I had gone outside in soil conservation service or something, the same salary. But I could also stay there and get this advanced degree. And so...
Did you two discuss that, or you just decided that's what you wanted to do? I know you wanted more education, so probably wasn't much discussion, but
Yeah,
So I don't think so.
it was a good chance.
good deal.
And I talked to my parents. I remember talking to my mother and father, and they said, boy, that sounds like you really ought to take that. And so I did. And so we rented an apartment there in Stillwater and started a career in working for OSU. And in 2 years we had done that. We got I think it was 2 years, about 2 years time, I had gone through my master's degree, thesis research and everything. And then I came home from work one day, and we worked on OSU worked on Saturday then, Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
So I got off work at noon on Saturday and came back, and we had bought a house by then. Got it on a GI Bill, and I came home, and the phone rang. And this guy, and the voice on the other end said, "This is Bill Anderson. Is this Dr. Jackson we're talking to?" I thought it was somebody pulling my leg. I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, the professor in your department has been in Ethiopia for 2 years. And he's just returned home, but we need a replacement for him, and he has recommended you." So I put down the phone, and I said to Susie, "They want me to go to Ethiopia." Susie had a cousin and her husband over there had always in Ethiopia working with veterinary medicine. And they were very close. Matter of fact, it was in her mother's house when we were married. So Susie was, I could ecstatic about going to Ethiopia. You won't take that in over there, sure. Excuse me.
Call from
Hello.
Broken Arrow. Okay.
Who's that? Hello? I think it's our telemarketer. We get those. You never have those, do you?
Hello.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're-
okay.
So anyway, Susie's cousin was already over there on board, and he was a veterinarian, and he'd been with OSU. And so they, Susie and this cousin were almost like sisters. And so I thought, well, we'll be over there for a little while. There's somebody that we got some relatives there. and gave me a chance to get outside and see what the rest of the world is like. So
And I
I'm
was
over there.
tired of all of the things that go on in a community that, what shall I say? I don't want to be catty. I don't want to be catty. But you know, there's this, in a college, you know, there's a certain hierarchy. And I was sick and tired of that. And I would be glad to get away from that, get freedom, get away.
But all the way to Ethiopia.
All the way to Ethiopia.
On another continent.
So it wasn't much discussion. It was, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
She was ready, and I said, well, if she can put up with a country that's backward, I can. I've lived through the snow and the Battle of the Bulge and all of that. I can take a couple of years of that. Turned out 4 years, and some of the happiest years. Oh, somebody's looking for us.
Why don't you let me answer?
No, there's nothing there. So anyway, she enjoyed living over there, and a group of staff from OSU were over there. So we had friends immediately. And then there was her cousin there. So we spent 4.5 years over there.
But we came home on home leave.
Well, after
after
2 years. We could not call home, so we had to write a letter that's with an imprinted stamp.
No, telephone.
Because they would
is a
remove
big
the stamp
job.
and throw the letter away. It was there.
There was we never called home.
For 2 years, we didn't hear any
We-
of their
we
voices
didn't-
at
There was
all.
no communication that way.
As an only child, would that bother your parents?
Yes, that bothered my mother a lot. Yeah.
And by that time, her stepfather had died. But she
That was a
didn't-
very close group, you know. Our entertainment was ourselves, you know. I mean, there was no TV. I don't think we even had a radio.
I don't think so.
What were some of the things you would do as a couple during this time to kind of entertain yourself, or?
Well, they had these other Oklahomans, Okies there, and they had parties, things
Yeah.
like that. Just to get together, and then we finally, after 2 years, they made me dean of the college out there. And that's in another city in Ethiopia where the emperor wanted a college built.
And you didn't have a PhD at that time,
No, I had an MS.
but you were Dr. Jackson.
Not then, well, only Dr. Jackson was when
Was
I was,
only at, when he answered the phone. That was the only time.
Yeah.
yeah, because I just had a master's degree then.
You must have been doing a great job to get bumped up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, he did a good job.
So we had this, so these people, we first lived in Addis Ababa, the capital, for about 2 years because the college wasn't finished. And we had students training, so they used University College in Addis Ababa for the students to take the courses, and I taught courses there, along with some of the other OSU people that still hadn't, because they were all supposed to go down to the college, but the college wasn't ready. They were slow getting it going. But then we moved down to the college, and it wasn't really complete, but we could get by. For example, there was no paved road or anything, and when it rained, trying to get out of that college into a town to buy groceries and things was not the easiest.
There was no electricity.
They didn't.
There was
they don't-
electricity only during the daytime. And at night, the fellow who's responsible to turn the electricity off, you needed to know his habits so you could get ready, because when he was ready for bed, the lights went out.
Yeah, it got dark real fast.
Do you ever have to use candles or other type of light?
As far as I know.
Yeah.
And the people around the area didn't bother us. They took over some land, confiscated some land, and that's what the government could do over there. Say, if this piece of land is gonna go to the college, so move out. So there was some dissent up there, of course. So anyway, we had one or two rather scares. One time one of these farmers lived out there in the nearby where we were out from any town. We were just out there in the countryside, and about I've forgotten how many acres now that they gave us, the emperor did. But there was a lot. But it was full of little villages, and we had to bulldoze those out and all that, and the people just didn't like it. And they said that the Americans tried to take over the country. But anyway, one day they gave, one of our staff members gave a Ethiopian farmer a ride because he lived up there in that area, but he was high on narcotic. I think it was called CHAT. You ever hear of chat? It's a leaf.
It's red.
And they would chew those things, chewing the chat, rather than chewing the fat. And it was in a pickup truck, and he got in the back of the pickup, and this one of our college pickups. And it was a little village up there where the farmer had asked to ride back that way, and we wanted to help him. Well, he was so high on chat that on the way there to the college site, he took a dive off of the back end of that pickup and fell on the road, broke his neck, and died. Boy, people came from the hillsides and everywhere. The Americans are killing our people. And it was tense there for a few hours, at least maybe a day or two. And then we went to the governor. He said, I'm going to tell those people that if they touch one American out here working, they're going to move. I'm moving them so far away, they'll never see that place. And so that seemed to calm things down. So we never had any more problems. But we had to arrange to get our groceries. We had to, for example, milk for the babies. We'd order it from Europe by sea freight. And it would come in there, and then we ordered other things, including beer. So anyway, but we got by in this group of about 10 American families there. One was assigned to the animal side. I was assigned to be the acting dean of the college. Another one was assigned to do the horticultural work, vegetables, and we got all the fresh vegetables we could eat. Then it was not far from the wild animals around there, and they'd go out and shoot a gazelle or something.
Wild pig.
And bring it in, and we'd all divide it up, and it was delicious meat. So we lived real good, despite being out there in the boondocks. No phone. We'd have a nurse. We did have a nurse. So if somebody got sick, she could tell us, and if they were really looked serious, then she'd send them to an airport about 30 miles away, and they'd fly him into the capital of Addis Ababa to see the doctor, missionary doctor there. But
He delivered-
for entertainment, we had ice cream socials. We had,
And the men went hunting and fishing. We, as a family, we get together and go to, I don't know what the lake was, but they'd go fishing.
Awasa.
I'll tell you about one time. I'm trying to think. A woman, Dr. Little, I guess you probably never would have heard of them, but she taught in at Mountain View where I went to school.
And he was over there working.
And he was there working.
Not with our group, but
No.
with the group.
And I kept, how did they go? Oh, I kept the little girl.
About my oldest daughter's age.
Yeah, and we got, but what I wanted to tell you was funny. I was on with the group, and we were sitting kind of close to the river, and we were talking about, we were on a kind of a slant by the river, and we were talking about, oh, here we are in Africa, and there was some big eyes came up out of the water.
Hippo.
And they were hippopotamus. But they didn't move, so we were okay. But after a while, there was a noise behind us. Kind of
They were on the
grunt or
bank of this
something.
river.
We didn't know what it was. And boy, we were on a real heavy blanket. One of those army kind of cotton field blanket. And my friend grabbed her blanket and ran up there. And I wasn't for sure, so I was slower. And that was her husband scaring us. It
We had
was
lots of wildlife over there in Ethiopia, so we had a chance to hunt and fish. And this place where she's talking about, you could throw in a line and a hook, and within just a few minutes, you'd have a nice sized catfish on the hook, and we'd fillet those things out, and so we had fresh fish. We'd eat it, we'd put it in the freezer. We had guinea fowl and partridge, huge breast, and that the legs were, they run, so the legs were tough meat, but that breast was good. And they would land at night in trees to roost. Then we would get down there underneath that tree with shotguns, bang, 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 and those guinea would fall like rain from out there, and then they'd dump those all together and turn them back up there where we were at the college and dress them out, put them in the freezer, and so we had fresh chicken or guinea all anytime we needed it. Oh, it was a pretty nice setup there in many ways. We didn't have the hectic times we do here.
You'd had a child during this time, right?
Yes.
So what was it like raising her in Ethiopia as a couple?
Well, she was born in Addis Ababa when we were living in the capital, and it was a Seventh-day Adventist hospital, and the doctor was a Seventh-day Adventist, and he delivered my cousin's baby also. So it was a very nice hospital. The only thing is, because we were Americans and the nurses were Ethiopian, they didn't have that authority. They didn't take that authority that a nurse should have. And there was one time when I was with my cousin, and I thought she was going to deliver that baby in the toilet. Oh, she just would not use the bedpan. And those toilets were steel, stainless steel. They were not, what do you call it?
Ceramic.
Porcelain, yeah. So it was nice to have a baby over there because you had servants and you could, they could help you take care of the baby and all that. It was
Clean the
just real
house,
nice.
cook the
But
food.
what we had in Addis Ababa was a house built with by stone, you know, and we had a stove. We had a kitchen outside that that was wood burning, and then inside the house we had a gas stove with bottled gas, and of course everyone had to have a place to store all of their things. So we had 3 bedrooms, and one room was a storage where we kept our food and the luggage and everything like that. So most people had to have something inside their house, not outside, because I mean, you had a night guard and to watch your house, to take care of that, because and you never thought about leaving your house without a servant there.
So did the servants take care of the kids too? Or did they watch the?
Yeah,
Well,
they
we
would watch.
usually had 2 or 3 servants.
So parenting was pretty easy then.
For that time we were there, all the time in Ethiopia, we always had servants.
We had a cook. He was really good. He was trained by the English, I think. English or the Italians. But he did a real good job cooking. And then I had a girl that cleaned the house. But the one that cooked, I think he did our washing. We had a washing machine, and it was out of the house, just on a porch, and didn't have warm water. It was just water, just water. So, and something else that would be interesting is when I had Charlene, we had moved down to where the college was going to be. Since the lights were off when that fellow wanted them off, I had to have a light to heat the bottle for the baby. And we just left our doors open. Screen doors were up, and I looked out one night, and here was a white owl or something looking at me. And I looked at him, or her, whoever she was, and it was quite an experience. I remember that, all these years, I remember that.
Mm.
And then we had another interesting thing, was the, what was that animal? I'm trying to think of that animal.
Hyena?
Hyena. There was a hyena man that people would come, kind of like a tour, and see this hyena, these hyenas at night. We never did go, but
But the hyenas came up there around our house at night too.
yeah, they would come and eat the garbage.
And Susie one night shined the light outside, and here was a jackal out there in the yard. So we every once in a while had to get the men together, and they'd get their guns, get in a pickup, and drive around with a spotlight at night, and try to kill off a bunch of those hyenas and jackals because they were getting so bad they wanted to come up there where we had some food to eat, I guess.
Yeah.
We had an interesting life over there.
It sounds.
Her cousin and being there near, not she didn't, the cousin didn't move down from Addis to, in about, well, it's an hour's flight or more from where we lived to where the cousin was. But we'd see them, they'd come down or we'd go up there. And so anyway, between then and then about 8 or 10 American staff from OSU.
Is your family away from home, huh?
Right.
Became.
Yeah, they were.
So once you left there, where did you go?
Then I went from there to University of Minnesota, where Rockefeller made available scholarship for me to do my PhD.
Okay.
And from there, after several years up there and some frustration,
We had a hail.
got a hailstorm that ruined my thesis research one year out there in the field.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So
Broke all the glasses in the wind in the greenhouses, and oh, it was a mean hailstorm. But it beat my plants up so that I couldn't use the measurements on them. So I had to come back to OSU, take a leave of absence. I went back down there to OSU and worked through the summer. Well, through the winter. And then we'd go back up there to Minnesota in the summer, take my data, and try to write that thesis.
Oh, darn.
And that was a booger. It was tough.
You were telling us about your thesis work and getting held out and had to
Held
come
out.
into Stillwater to
Right.
finish up. Then from there.
And I had to leave. Well, anyway, I had to take, they said, you've got to have, up there at Minnesota, you've got to have 2 years of data in order to get your PhD. I'd already finished my coursework, I'd finished my foreign language work, but this had to be done. Those measurements had to be made. So I came back to Stillwater and I asked them if I could work through the summer months and go back up there. No, the work, I had to be up there where my thesis was planted in the field. I had to go up and plant it, fly back down, come back to Stillwater, do my work there at Stillwater, then go back up and clean and collect my data, and then try to write it all up. So anyway, but I did it, and thank goodness I had a good man, that wonderful person who helped me, because we had a lot of computer work to do. And he was good at computers, and that's when computers were not
Yeah, they
a
were.
dime a dozen. And so he put all that on tape and analyzed it, helped me analyze it to what we called regression equations, and the multiple regression, not just the ordinary simple regression. And so I was able, through him, to help him, he helped me. And then he didn't like the way I wrote my thesis. And he said, Ben, if you will let me be one of the authors of your, it had to be published immediately. They didn't say you just put a thesis in the library and leave it, and give you a degree. Mine had to be submitted to a professional journal before they give me a degree. And I wasn't as good a writer as he was. So he also helped me, and my advisor. The two of them together rewrote my thesis. so that it would be published. But I finally got through it. And then next thing I know, Rockefeller, who had supplied me with the scholarship and the backing for 3 years, said, we need you in Thailand. And about the same time, there was turmoil in the agronomy department here at OSU. They had a man who was head of the department who was not getting along with the staff. And two or three of the good professors had left. And so when I came up and said, look, Rockefeller's wanting me to go to Thailand, and I'm thinking about to go, but he said, no, Ben, don't go. We need you here. We've lost 2 good men. We need you here. We've given you this for time to sabbatical and to do the write your thesis and so forth. We need you, and we're hurting here. I said, but I think I need to go with Rockefeller. I just feel like it's the thing to do. So they finally gave in, but they didn't. They moved me up another professor's job level, and all they could do, but they couldn't keep me. So I went to Thailand.
How did you discuss that before you?
Oh
You
yeah,
said,
we were
yes.
going through all of this, and so we spent 17 years in Thailand. So my ties to OSU are rather still strong, but the fact that Rockefeller had supported me and all this stuff for 17 some years, and then Mississippi State University wanted me. So I spent another 3 or 4 years after finishing 17 years in Thailand.
Oh.
And went over and then they wanted to make me the head of the big experiment station. I said, no, I came down here. I came down here to work and to do research.
Well, your time in Thailand, what was that like? I assume you took the children with you.
Yes.
Both
They
girls.
had because of the war, there was a school by the American, I don't know if it was a military
International
or,
school.
Huh?
International.
Is international school, but only Thais could not attend this school. Just those who were out from another country could go.
Foreign nationals who are over there based in Thailand, or their families are. Some of them were working in Vietnam and other places. This is during the war now.
Yeah. So both girls graduated from that school,
High school.
and it was adequate to go to college here in the States. So
And they had made some good friends with Norwegians and other groups over there in that school, because they're the ones that were going there.
And Charlene belonged to a group which was boys and girls of Boy Scout, and so they would take trips and go different places in Thailand. Sherry, the older one, she had a good Christian group too, but they didn't go out.
They didn't go camping and
No, they didn't.
see, there's a seashore there in Thailand, and they have some good recreational areas down there at the beach. Cabins, motorboats, islands, fishing, whatever. So when Charlie and my youngest one would have a chance to go down there with her friends, and they'd water ski and all this stuff. So they had a ball, and Charlene both girls still feel very strong about Thailand. We had 17 years of it. They still speak a little bit of the language, as do I. And they talk about it and still use or some of the Thai expressions, like it's my pen rai means never mind. They'll say when they're talking to me sometimes they'll say my pen rai, because they know what I know, that I know it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been back since you left?
Yes, I've been back twice, I think, on consultancies. And one time I went to Bangladesh for a consultancy and then back into to Thailand just to touch bases with some of the group that I worked with there.
Did your parents visit while you were over there?
My mother came.
Well, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, she's just a farm girl, but she said that was the highlight of her life.
And the Thais really enjoyed seeing her because she had white hair. And everywhere she went, those Thai children especially, they just, that was really something, white hair.
And my sister came over from Wichita. And she and a friend came over and spent about a month there with us. And I took them. I had access to Rockefeller cars. They gave me two, one for Susie and one for me. And so on the weekend, I'd take my Rockefeller car and take them to the historic place. Have you heard of the bridge on the River Kauai?
Mm-hmm.
We've been down there 2 or 3 times. We'd go out to the beach and spend the night in a bungalow out there. And these two sisters, this sister really enjoyed going over there. She said again, it was really one of the best things she ever did.
And then he has his youngest sister, the youngest child in their family. Husband was in the Air Force, and they were stationed in the Philippines, and they came over 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, my brother-in-law was in the Philippines in the Air Force during the Vietnam War, and he would fly from the Philippines over to Vietnam, bomb them, and then go back home. Except he was shot down over Vietnam. And it was scary, but he landed in a bunch of trees. A good jungle out there. And his parachute but he cut himself loose, sent a radio message where he was, and one of the Jolly Green Giant helicopters from Thailand came over, picked him up on that rope, flew him out of there.
He said he heard the monkeys talking, and he was hoping it wasn't the Vietnam talking.
Yeah, he's got some stories to tell too. But he was on a bomber.
Well, how do you think being in all these countries impacted your marriage and your relationship with each other?
Well, it probably strengthened it because each one had to depend on themselves to some extent. After all, I was traveling a lot over there in Thailand. I'd be gone several days at a time. Susie had to manage the servants and manage everything there. So she learned to be more self-reliant.
Yeah. I helped organize an orphanage and helped Christian Women's Club. I don't know if you know about that. It's a organization to develop for women, and especially there were so many service people over there, and the women were quite unhappy of being there in Thailand. One woman was, well, I won't go into that, but it was a pleasure to know that they could come once a month and be in United States feeling at a luncheon And they did carvings with ice at the restaurant. Oh, they were beautiful carvings.
Mm.
And carvings out of butter. I don't know exactly. It looked like butter. I don't know exactly what they were. But it was really nice. So there was some nice things for them. And something else I wanted to say, but I've forgotten what it is.
The fact that you went to Burma
Oh, yeah.
3 or 4 times
Yeah.
without
I had
a
a-
visa,
I had
without a passport.
I had a friend who was of the Burma, but she was a Christian. And there's a part of Burma next to Thailand where the Christian Karan, K-A-R-A-N, or E-N, I don't remember which, are mostly Christians. And they don't dare go out into Burma because they'll kill them. And 3 times I crossed over without a passport, went through the jungle, and I taught at their school. And there's this school, you know, it's a dirt floor and just a bench, and then just a board across for a desk. And they and a girl went with me who played the guitar, and we, I'm not bragging, the Lord blessed us, blessed them through us, because even though they had a preacher, we were teaching real, right out of the Bible. It was teaching straight out of the Bible faith. And so that's what they needed, because in that infested area of mosquitoes, they have to sleep under a mosquito net all the time.
Malaria.
And they had a little boy, oh, I don't know, maybe he's 4 or 5, and he saw a snake swallow a chicken, and that snake could have taken him, you know. What kind of snake is it that?
A boa?
Yeah.
Now I've got a python upstairs.
Oh, no, that may
But
be
he's
bigger.
got-
That may
got
be
a
bigger.
python skin upstairs.
about as long as this wall here is.
So you went over to Burma without him.
Without him.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
you
yeah.
got on a bus and,
Went on the bus. I didn't speak much time.
Did she even tell you she was going?
yes, you should
He
go. I knew
told
you
me I'd
should go.
probably land in a jail there and rot for all my life.
Of
And
course,
I
you had
knew
no
that I was
passport or anything.
supposed to go. I knew that I was safe. I wasn't afraid. It was a bumpy. It was just had rained, and there was just ruts for that vehicle. There wasn't any room to get over and let somebody else pass. I mean, it was ruts there. But those people are very, very devoted to Christ, and you just wish they could, you know, have a better life. They had a preacher, and he and another person, I don't remember now, asked if Ben and I would come and live with them and teach them the Bible. And I told him I didn't think that was possible.
But she could live her life independently. She had servants. I had to travel. I was gone sometimes for a week or 2 weeks into India or into Indonesia or wherever you name it. I went 3 times to Vietnam during the war. They told me, said, you may be shot at.
Well, did you ever worry for his safety and vice versa?
You know, I prayed a lot. I knew that
But she had servants there and a driver and things to help her around. plus the Rockefeller had about, I don't know how many, one time you had about 30 people over there. Doctors as well, medical doctors as well as PhDs.
Besides, I didn't realize all the danger he was in.
And I don't tell her. They ask me to go, and I say, well, okay. They said, we need you, and so I say, all right. And so far, I'm still here.
The way they did was a plane came in, and before it got dark, you know, it got dark at 6 o'clock there. I mean, that was, they would have to leave their work. And boy, that plane took off up like that. It didn't take a swoop up because the Viet Cong were there to shoot at a certain time. They were out there.
That was while I was in Vietnam.
Yeah, that
I'd
was,
be over there for 2 weeks at a time, traveling around the country and flying around everywhere.
Did you communicate during that time?
No.
no.
Uh,
But I didn't worry about him. I had a peace in my heart.
That he'd
Yeah.
come back, huh?
Yeah.
but say one of the high officials, American officials there, told me when I first went in there to Vietnam, you may be shot at. You may be killed. If you are really concerned about your life, you better get on that plane and just go back to Bangkok. And I said, no, I'll stay here. I came to do a job. And I never did see any actual fighting going on. I flew every kind of plane and all over the South Vietnam. But I never. And after, when that plane that she's talking about was landing, we got there early in the morning at this place, a little airport. And the runway was slick, but I didn't know that. It's from dew. And they put steel mats down to keep it from sinking into the mud, I guess. And it was C-47, DC-30, if you're familiar with the planes. And this plane, I could feel the wheels bumping on the steel mat. And then suddenly, he threw those throttles open, and boom, up we went. I thought it was Viet Cong sitting down there, and they'd sighted some Viet Cong, and that they were going to, and so, but it was that he couldn't stop the plane in time because it was wet. The side of the runway was wet. So he round again, then came in and landed. Well, I've had some wonderful, interesting times.
And a long way from Tipton, Oklahoma.
Oh, yes.
What do you think's the secret to your long marriage?
Probably each one depending to some extent on themselves. Like there are 17 years in Thailand and 4.5 years in Ethiopia. I've gone. I had to travel quite a bit. And but I tried to be that they were safe enough. But you never 100% sure of anything.
I think it is the character of being patient. You're in a
have
situation
to
like
trust
this,
them.
if you don't grow, you're going to be pretty bad off. So you have to do like what is that tree that's so limber? You know the tree that sways?
All I can think about is a willow, but that's
Willow, yeah. You've got to be patient, you've got to
Flexible.
bend, and you can't judge because you don't know. I mean, you judge and you think you're right, but if you hold your peace and hold your patience, you'll find out that maybe you were wrong or thinking wrong, or maybe the Lord's working. And the Lord knows how to do things that we don't.
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of people say they're in love still. What does love mean to you? What does it mean to be in love?
Trust.
What did you say?
Trust.
Trust. I think love is trust. You know, God is love. So when you love, there is a force. You don't see that force, but that force is there and it works. So if you apply or try to apply, no one's perfect. But if you try to use the guidance that God has given you, you will have success. Whatever you attempt, if you follow His guidance, you will succeed. He offers prosperity in every area. We've never been taught, I wasn't taught that way in church. I wasn't taught these things. I had to learn them and listen to other teachers. But I think God has a big influence, you know, if you let Him.
Well, when history is written, what do you want it to say about your marriage, your relationship, 70 plus years?
The main thing, I see so many people breaking up. I say trust, and concern, and going on. I go for several weeks outside the country and leave her there by herself. But I trust her, that she knows that she's not going to spend all the money, and she's not going to go out and start getting drunk or drugs or things like that. So I can do my work. I see these people sometimes that get off on a tangent, and boy, they can just not only themselves but ruin everybody.
Well, before your daughters got married, did you give them any advice about marriage?
I didn't. The one
We
didn't is
didn't
not
do
married.
enough of that. We did not do enough of that.
Well, we were in Thailand and they were here in the States, and she was in the States.
Kind of hard to do. Yeah.
Hard to do.
Yeah, it was hard. I think it's very hard on children to live overseas
But
and
she's
come
still
back.
married. She's still married.
Because Charlene, our youngest one, is still she just has a hard time with things because she didn't grow up with the understanding. You know, the background of your living affects you when you're older. And so her background is servants, making her bed. Even when I told them not, I wanted her to learn to clean her room and make her bed and stuff like that. Well, the servant would slip in and do it for her. And especially Charlene, the younger one, she is not up to it on certain areas. But that's, I don't know how I got on that subject.
Advice to daughters.
Yeah, the two daughters are Christians and they are getting stronger in their faith. And
But they're different personalities, of course, and you don't expect just because you grew up in the same family that you're going to have the same personality that your siblings have. I look at my family of 8, and they've all come along very well, basically, but they're not the same philosophy and orientation that I am.
And do you have grandchildren too?
Oh, we
No?
have three girls, two girls, three girls, and then we have a little boy that's a child of one of our granddaughters.
You ever give
Great
the,
grandparents.
ever give those grandkids advice on how to stay?
We just give them a bad time when they want money.
That's what they want is the money.
That's it.
I
Like,
tell you what, my girls are 4 years apart. And there is a great difference in their thinking. And it's the way people live now. And one likes very similar to the way we think. She loves to know older things. And the other girl is all up on, well, what's popular now. I mean, it's really hard on her to try to understand us. But now I think Sherry, the older one, understands us better. But I think there's something was going on at that time in our society. It's, I think it's good that seems like there's more wanting to be intimate now, wanting to be friends more now. But see, I'm so much older than these people are. Because I'm 92 and they are in their 20s. That's 70 years difference.
And these are your grandchildren.
My grandchildren. So it's hard for me to understand a lot of the way they think.
Well, if you had to give them advice on how to stay married long or develop a strong relationship, what would it be? Yeah, somebody in their 20s, even if it's a grandchild or anybody, what would you tell them?
I'd tell them to assess very carefully whatever the decision, whether it's marriage or whether it is financing or what, but really think it through. Because I think that is too many times these things are done on impulse. It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a bad thing. I loaned some money to one of my grandchildren to buy a house. I owed $10,000 and it was about a $90,000 house. But I said, no, that is something that you're going to have to make those payments and make your repairs and etc. And so forth. They haven't come back and said, oh, I need money for this or that. The one has already moved out to Oregon, and that's the way is good because to me, it means that she's got to be on her own out there.
She wanted to be independent. So she's really, it's tough. If you help a child too much, and we have done that, they haven't learned how to fight for themselves. They haven't learned the steps and all that they have to go through to accomplish this. And you ask a very detailing, because I tell you what, I would not recommend marrying anybody who is not a Christian. A strong Christian. I mean, you can be a Christian and be lazy. You can be a Christian and decide that you want everything given to you. But it takes integrity and the willing to work, So many young people are not willing to work. They're not willing enough to humble themselves so that they can, as you grow up on a ladder, you gain knowledge, spiritual knowledge, educational knowledge, experience knowledge, and they need all of that in order to succeed. And if they don't have those challenges on their way, they're missing out.
What do you two consider your greatest accomplishment as a married couple?
Staying together.
Yeah, that's probably the greatest thing. That we're both going to go to heaven. We both are going to live till
we die.
till we die. So many of these things you ask, we haven't thought about.
Divorce was never considered.
The what?
Divorce was never considered.
Yes, it was considered many times. I mean, if you think we had a rough time. There's been rough times, and that's the reason I was talking about patience a while ago.
Weathered it.
And the thing is that what we think is impossible, with God it's possible. There's nothing God can't do. But you have to be willing to receive and be humble. You have to be willing to wait and let things work out. And keep praying and keep thanking. Thanksgiving and forgiveness is a secret. Oh yes, forgiveness is a great secret. And thanksgiving is another one. And this love force. That love force is your will. That's not a hanky-panky emotion. The kind of love that keeps a marriage together is not hanky-panky love. It is a force. It's a godly force. And if you don't have it, you better get it. Because that's what makes the success. Because love will do what you can't do. I tell you what, just an example. Our granddaughter, of all things, she married. She went 10 years without, she got a divorce. She went just about 9 or 10 years without dating, without anything, without. And this young man, who is 10 years older than her, said, "Can we be friends? The girls that I date, they are so foolish." He had observed her at work and all. All right, they became friends, and then they became lovers, and she is close to 40. There's a lot of, difference between them. Well, she got pregnant. Well, the situation comes to the fact that I need a place to live and we can't find one, and on and on. And I said, she was about a month away from delivering. So I said, well, you could come and live here. But I had fallen and I couldn't walk up the stairs. I was really hurting. So I told them they could stay in our middle bedroom up there, and it's nice. It's private. Ben has a big table in his room where they could use, and they could cook. Well, it got to bothering me. It really tore me up that I had allowed a couple in my house who are not married, living together. How does God look at that? If you can be an accomplice to a murderer, but can you be accomplished that? Anyway, it was quite upsetting to me. and I was going to have to ask them to leave. Well, her sister, who lives in Washington, paid their way to come to Washington and live and try to get a job. Besides, the boy that Clark had a car wreck. He was on a drug and he couldn't get off of it. Anyway, see, it's just a big mess. And when they left my upstairs a mess. The cat had peed on the rug and they had moved things out. My Christmas stuff, I didn't know where it was and all this. Anyway, it was a mess up there. And they left. I was angry. He had told her not to help me. Many times she was supposed to help. Both of them were supposed to help, but they never had time. So, it's just building, that kind of building. So when they left, I was angry. I mean, I haven't been that angry in a long time. But in the Bible it says if you don't forgive, God doesn't forgive you. And that it's written in there. I can't tell you when. But my emotions didn't want to forgive. So finally, I humbled myself before God and told Him I forgive. With my will, I forgive. And so I had a lifting when I did that. I asked Him to forgive me for being so, I don't know, either self-righteous or worried or so forth. And then I gave my forgiveness that I received from God. I gave them their forgiveness. Now there's peace. But if you don't do something like that, you're carrying around stuff. And in a marriage, you can't afford that. That's too expensive. It needs to be peace in here. That reason I was saying forgiveness a while ago and patience. You just have got to do it with your will. And then you have to tell your emotions, now listen here.
70, how many years? 73?
Going on 73 years, right?
73
We're going
years.
on 73.
Yeah, 72 currently, going on 73.
72 years, yeah.
Going on 73.
Not far away.
7 more, it'll be 80.
If we make it that long.
75 then.
And for the most part, it's been
Bargain
good.
now.
And for the most part, it's been good. For the large part,
For
it's
the
been
most,
good.
yeah,
For the
it
large
has been good.
Well, we've lived better than we ever thought. We, so far, maybe before the thing is over, but so far we've been able to live where we wanted to live, drive what we wanted to drive, eat what we wanted to eat. Sometimes it's beans, but it's just as good as steak when you want it. You don't have to have.
Sometimes better.
Some of that steak is tough. But it's not a good life. If I look back over my life, I really wouldn't change much. Yeah, I've made mistakes, but nevertheless, I have been able to accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish. More than I thought. possible.
I think God was guiding us and we didn't even know it. Wasn't even aware that that's what He wanted us to do.
I grew up with a very very devoted family to the Bible and to the Christian concept. My mother was very strong. My relatives were very strong in their beliefs. And so I think it's been a big help to me to have those people behind me saying, "Go, Ben."
Yeah, and it seemed like you didn't have to look for work; it found you.
No, that's right.
Yeah, He never had
No, I've
to
never-
ask for work.
And you didn't get to stay in bed.
That's right. But that's all right. Oh, I've been very grateful for what I have. I've given away quite a bit, but that's all right. I did it because I wanted to.
Made a difference in a lot of other people's lives, it
I
sounds
hope
like.
it did anyway.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your stories with us. It's been great.
Well, it's
Thank
been
you for
an
letting us.
interesting, afternoon to listen to you people poke these questions around, and I had no idea what kind of a situation we were going to be in today, but you've given us a chance also to tell our part of the story of life and of what I consider to be a successful life. And as I said, I wouldn't really take back anything if I had to start all over again. I've been very satisfied with what I've been able to do. The health, the abilities to get an education, I wouldn't have done those things if I'd stayed on the farm.
Well, and you might not have done the education part without the war,
That's right.
Yeah.
without being in the war.
And
That's
yeah,
right.
that's right. Probably not. I don't know how I would have. My father did not have finances to send me to college. And I never asked Father.
And then you two wouldn't have met if you hadn't have got to college,
That's right.
Yeah.
right? Or do you know
Well,
you knew
no,
him before you got
I
there?
met him before.
Okay, scratch that then.
Well,
Might
while
not
we
have met
were in
again.
college, we were starting college. We were starting college when we met,
Yeah.
and
Well, it
And
definitely
then
would
the
allow,
rest is history, huh?
definitely allowed them to have, I would call it a global marriage. You've been around the world together. Most couples don't live in another country for a decade at a time.
yeah. Oh, it's been a very interesting, challenging, rewarding experience.
A person needs to go and live in another country for a while, maybe even just 6 months, to appreciate the United States. Think what we have, and no other country has it, besides Israel.
Well,
It's- well, they
Germany
don't.
and some of those have a pretty good standard of living.
No,
England.
well, I was thinking in a spiritual way that we have so much freedom. We have a lot of freedom that other countries don't have. And it's because we are a God country. Our Constitution is right out of the Bible.